So I'll actually go over a bit about, paint a picture of what the digital organization of now is like, a bit about what the future will be like, okay. and some examples that are in the present that may seem like the future, and I'll leave the future scenarios to you. So the context of now is that the world is increasingly filled with digital things. And there's this tech convergence of mobile and social and cloud computing that's changing the world. And digital things are, they're not just the computers and the phones, but it's actually, the email that we send out, the things that used to have a material form, like books and movies and music. And then also things that never had a material form, like email, SMS, status updates. And then even more so is the digital traces, all of the trails we leave behind when we use our digital things. And this is creating lots of metadata. These are things like your call history, your SMS log, your contact list, your music playlist, your social networking log of comments and likes, that sort of thing. And so this is what you may think of as big data, but you're also generating a lot of big data yourself. So if you think about this in terms of change and the rate of change, this is something that Stuart Brand has put together from the Long Now Foundation that shows the traditional rate of change of different things from fashion to nature. And nature, of course, is the slowest and fashion is the fastest. Well, now we have technology. And technology, I would argue, is even faster than fashion. And it's getting faster. So organizations now everything is connected. And we're quite globalized. We have, many of us work for global organizations. And and what technology does is it binds together systems with radically different timescales. So financial transactions now happen in milliseconds, policy that's implemented over years, social norms that change over decades, and ecological processes that normally evolve over millennia. So this is creating what's called tightly coupled systems in sort of systems talk. So the behavior of each system influences the other in these sort of complex feedback loops. So there are sort of latent dependencies between things that seem almost randomly connected. And this increases both uncertainty and risk as things scale up. So the first thing, how many of you have some sort of sustainability efforts in your company? That's a good number. Great. So sustainability, it offers many things: transparency, employee development, and resource efficiency. But there's one thing that it doesn't account for. It mostly works if the conditions are predictable. So if we know that things will be as they have been in the future, then it will work. But there are a few practical tools for really handling disruptions. And the future, we don't know what will be in the future. It's unpredictable by nature. And it's full of complex and tightly coupled systems with a fast rate of change and widely variable conditions. So what we really need is resilience as an organization. So if you think in terms of an organization, you want to stick around in the future no matter what the conditions are. So resilience is really the capacity of an organization to tolerate disturbances without collapsing. So if you look at what affects resilience, on the high end, it's flexibility, inclusiveness, diversity, and innovation. And on the low end, it's extreme efficiency, a focus internally, homogeneity of products and workforce, and sort of a stasis. And what we need to deal with these changes is a new organizational toolkit. It doesn't have to be as complicated as this, but you want to be prepared for just about anything. So some of the tools, for instance, that we use at Vodafone are technology probes. And technology probes, they're not an actual product or service, but they're a way to test a technology to see how people appropriate it. So what we do is we give them a technology, we don't tell them what to do with it. We observe over a period of time, weeks or months, and then see how people use it. Do they use it the way we thought they would? Do they use it a completely different way? And then we take those observations and then turn them into insights, and then create the products. So this sort of informs what our next products will be based on not how people say they'll use something, but how they actually use it. Here's another extreme example. It's Kickstarter. I'm sure you've all heard of it, but how does this fit in the context of your organization? What's interesting about it is, if you see over here the amount of money that was raised for just a game. And this was, in tiny increments of people saying, I want this game to exist, so therefore I will pay for it. So if you use this model in your organization, for instance, you can let your customers say, I want this product to exist, I vote for that. So you can use this sort of mechanism as a way to vote new products into being. Here's a very extreme example. This is actually an auto parts company, Favi. There was a recent article in Fast Company called The Art of Bosslessness. And this is a CEO who basically took out all bosses. There are only 3 types of positions in the company now. There is a production position, a leader, and a linchpin. And the linchpin is the person who deals with the customer. So basically, he said, you don't work for me or for a boss, you work for the customer. And the customer, they basically have a factory, and you do what's needed for the customer. So, completely different model. This is meant to provoke, so this seems extreme. That's the intention. Also, Local Motors. It's actually a bottom-up car design company. So it's crowdsourcing the design. The design phase is entirely social. People can submit designs and engineering plans. The production is as normal. You use the production facilities that you have. The sales is on demand, so people actually vote for something that they want to purchase. And it's completely open source. So this is another very extreme example that's happening now. So if you think a bit about your organization and how you can enable a more flexible structure, it could include things like spin-offs, incubating of ideas within your company, open innovation with other companies, all sorts of other models that might increase your flexibility. Also, adaptive governance, just enabling more experimentation, considering new policies for management, tolerating small-scale failures, because if it's a small-scale failure, at least it's contained, and it doesn't have the risk of a large-scale one. Collaborating with internal and external stakeholders, promoting flexibility in the work environment, and new institutional and organizational arrangements. Another factor is new employee capabilities. And I know Dennis covered this earlier, but this list of 5 things is actually from a quite good Howard Rheingold book about how to thrive online. And these are basically the skills you'll need in the future. The connected generation, however, probably already has them. So this is the difference, the gap. So the quote on the right, it's not information overload, it's filter failure. So you're not meant to look at all the information, but you're meant to construct a filter and be able to direct your attention mindfully and pull in the information that you need by yourself and through your social network. And as a part of this, new types of employee rewards. Some of the things that are starting to happen is revenue sharing of successful new products, more external recognition for employees, time to work on more socially oriented projects, sabbaticals. Maybe you can take a sabbatical to work at a startup and then come back. And also 20% time for personal development. So in the scenario groups that you'll break out into, if you think about the same sorts of roles that we have today, marketing, design, engineering, production, and sales, these will still exist in some capacity, but there will be new challenges.